Welcome to the Create Your Happy podcast, where conscious female creators come together with a shared vision to inspire and empower women as they learn how to fully embrace their humanness, find their unique voice, and collaborate on how together we can change the world. I'm your host, Christy Holt, happiness coach and conscious funpreneur on a mission to change the world one beautiful soul at a time. On the show, you will be inspired by unique stories of strong and brilliant women just like you who have overcome in life, business, and relationship, and have a passion to empower other women to do the same. What follows are authentic, real-life, unfiltered conversations that reflect how these courageous women are taking back their power, becoming the alchemist in their own lives, and ultimately making a difference in the world. All right, gorgeous, it's time to get curious and become inspired. It's time to create your happy. I am so excited to welcome Alli MacKenzie onto the show today and super pumped to have a fantastic conversation. Alli MacKenzie helps curious souls connect with their soul level self, awaken to their innate gifts, understand spirituality, self-heal, and gain clarity through the power of discernment. So I'm super excited to hear all about what Alli's got going on now. And I know she's passionate about working with moms and women. So I'm so excited to have you on the show, Alli. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This is going to be fun. I'm excited for our
It's always fun having a little conversation. So I'd love to kick us off with a little introduction of who is Alli? What do you do? How did you get to where you are? Give us a little bit about the backstory, a little bit about what gets you excited and fired up to share, and as well how you create your happy.
Oh, of course. So I've been in the coaching industry for a little over 8 years now, and my whole journey in the coaching world started as a personal trainer. So
mine too.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. So I remember, sort of being stuck at a desk job, wondering what the hell am I doing with my life? And the idea of personal training kept coming forward for me. And I had always been a very athletic child, an athletic adolescent. Then, of course, life happens and you kind of just forget about that piece of yourself. So something was nudging me to go back to that. So I did that. And as I was embarking on the fitness journey, when I was working with my clients, I noticed that a lot of them were asking questions about nutrition, like what else can I do at home when I'm not with you? So then that piqued my curiosity too. So I went back to school while I was still, operating as a fitness trainer, and I received my nutrition diploma. So then I felt like, okay, I've got like two really solid ways to assist my clients. But then while all of this was sort of transpiring and I was embarking on this journey of being an entrepreneur, my hubby and I were trying to become pregnant. And, things weren't moving as quickly or as, we'll say normally as they should. So we started to get kind of worried and thought like, okay, what's going on now? Okay, like this should have happened by now. All of our friends are pregnant and having babies and on their second ones, like, what's wrong with us, right? So long story short, we ended up going through IVF, and we were very, very lucky and blessed that it worked the first time for us.
Amazing.
Absolutely amazing. So then our little guy joined the world. But, prior to, as I was trying to figure out, how do I fit in the world as this entrepreneur, but then now I'm trying to get pregnant and I can't get pregnant. And, there was a lot of, I would say like self-worth challenges that I was going through. And then after we had our son, when he entered the world, it definitely wasn't your textbook entrance by any means. It was a little bit more challenging than it should be. And after he entered the world, I then, realized around the 3 or 4 month period that I was dealing with a pretty heavy bout of postpartum depression. So, he was a gift, and he definitely introduced me to a piece of myself that I didn't even know existed. And I'm forever grateful for that. But, when I was going through those really dark days, I definitely had a moment where I was like, I don't know if I can do this. Like, I don't know if I can be a mom. I don't know if I can do anything. I just feel like I feel like giving up essentially.
Oh
And
man, that's so relatable. I just think moms everywhere listening are like, "Oh my gosh, yes." Because I think we have all struggled with that from time to time, and just that worthiness and that this precious child that we've been entrusted with, and can
yeah.
we give them everything they deserve?
Oh, of course. And especially like you've been yearning for it for so long, not even like the 9 months, but for us, it was quite a few years prior. And then he's here and I'm going like, what do I do with this little human, right? So as I was sort of navigating the postpartum challenge, I was at a friend's place. We had this medium come over and she did sort of a group healing for all of us women. And she kept turning to me and asking me if I was a healer. And at that point, I was like, well, I mean, I do the personal training thing. I'm a nutrition coach. Like, I suppose I assist people on their healing journey. But I never had really like considered myself part of the healing journey. I wasn't overly infused in the spiritual world at that time. But she kept turning to me saying, like, no, there's something more. You're a healer. Have you considered Reiki? And at that time, I honestly thought Reiki was something that only like mediums could practice or people who were psychic or like extremely intuitive could practice. So I had no idea that it was for, the quote unquote common folk. But anyway, she piqued my curiosity and I ended up enrolling in a course like 2 weeks later. And it was honestly at that point just a matter of self-healing for my own well-being or my own well-being. And I really started to fall in love with it. And that sort of opened me up to this whole world of like personal development, which I wasn't really aware of prior to that. So after my son was about a year old, I figured, okay, I'm going to hire a business coach and get back into the world and figure out how to do this entrepreneur thing again. But I felt like I had sort of not outgrown the personal training perspective, but I felt like there was more at that point, right? As my awareness started to expand, I was thinking, okay, there's other pieces to this,
I'm so vibing with this.
right?
This
That
is
there,
yes,
yeah,
yes. There's
and
so much
that's
more, and there's so many pieces, and even like I'm just like so on the same page because I also started as a personal trainer and teaching group fitness and nutrition coaching, and I always felt the same thing. Like there's just something more, something deeper, and I wanted to go deeper with my clients and really face those bigger issues. And I wanted to work with clients who wanted to ask the uncomfortable questions and go there and do the deeper work.
yes, yes. And I love that you've said that because, fast forward now a bunch of years,
Yeah.
I feel like where I belong in this whole world of providing mentorship and coaching, it's definitely more on that spiritual perspective because, we can do and attend to all of the external aspects of ourselves that we want. But if we don't actually turn inward and connect to ourselves on that soul level self, then we will continue having those old issues bubble up over time. We might be able to hide them or hide from them for a little bit or experience a little bit of that like temporary comfort or assurance. But, even going back to the personal training world, when you're looking at, extrinsic motivation versus the intrinsic motivation,
Yeah.
it needs to come from within. It needs to be on that really deep soul level in order for true change
Yeah.
to transpire and to last.
Yeah. And there's a lot of identity bits kind of wrapped up in that, right? There's like a lot of who we think we are is based on those expectations, societal expectations and conditioning, if you will, our entire lives long, right? So to kind of unpack that and figure out who we actually are is a significant part of that journey. It doesn't matter if you're just, trying to hit the gym and get in shape to run a race, or if you just want to lose that last 20 pounds or whatever it is. You're going to have so much more impact and so much more lasting success if you take that look inside and figure out honestly what you really are looking for, because it's most often not about what we think it's about.
Oh, absolutely. There's always something that's at the root of what we're experiencing. So, fast forward to my practice now, I love channeling intuitive Reiki therapy. That is my happy place. I just thoroughly enjoy being in someone else's energy. The fact that they trust me with that, and to then assist them in figuring out, what's going on with your chakra system. Why are you feeling this way? When did this start? How can we work through this? Right. And then being able to also connect to source and share that intuitive guidance that can assist them on that soul level. Because, often I feel like we get really stuck in trying to think our way through things.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's about the feeling, and I feel like too, like you're talking about those societal norms and those pressures, a lot of us have been taught to push that shit down.
Oh yeah. We are
the tools to deal.
We are stuffing it because it is uncomfortable.
Yes, exactly. And that's where sometimes we do need to honor ourselves with the process of actually experiencing the suffering and feeling the suffering, as heavy and yucky as that might feel sometimes. That's very much a part of the process in terms of, actually allowing yourself to feel and then let go. It's that letting go part that we also, I feel like, as a collective, myself included, we struggle with that. But that's where Reiki therapy, for example, or, going into the Akashic Records, where we're able to look at some of your previous incarnations and see, was it maybe a previous life where you dealt with a certain situation and perhaps didn't quite get the closure that you needed? So on a karmic energetic scale, it's been brought over into this life, right? And we're able to work through and actually clear that energy. Or when we're utilizing, light language and an activation comes through. The vibration of the light language assists also in moving that energy around. And the reason that I love energy work so much is that it goes beyond that cognitive perspective, right? We open ourselves up. And the amazing part is our bodies are so innately intelligent. Like, I honestly believe that every single person on this planet is intuitive. We all have our own way of accessing our intuition. But again, we either haven't been taught how to do that, or someone told us that we were crazy along the way, or we just feel like we don't have anywhere to turn in terms of getting the guidance that we need, right? So that's where I feel so passionate and called to assist those who are curious, right? To assist those who are feeling like, okay, something is up. I'm shifting, I'm changing, I'm feeling like I'm seeing the world differently. How do I make sense of this now, right? How do I understand my intuition? What even is spirituality? Like, what does that mean to me? And how can I start to gain clarity when it comes to making decisions in my life?
Yeah, and it's important to ask those questions, right? And just to explore and look into different things. I have a question for you, and this one is for anyone out there listening who is wondering, what the fuck is Reiki? I just want to dive in a little bit, and if you can give us I don't have a clue what Reiki is all about, sort of like Reiki for Dummies rundown. I think that would be really helpful for anybody out there who's like, I don't know what this is. I don't know what this is about. I hear what you're talking about, but I'm not totally getting the whole picture. So can you explain to us a little bit about what Reiki is?
Yeah, definitely. And the interesting thing is too, so many people still don't know what it is, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I would say, my practice here in Leduc, probably 80% of my clients coming in, it's either their first time experiencing Reiki or they don't know what it is. And I mean, obviously, I feel completely honored that they're trusting me to have this Reiki experience. But yeah, I mean, if anyone's listening and they don't know what it is, you're not alone. Okay.
Right.
But it's very much just a gentle yet powerful healing modality. So the way that I like to explain it is it's kind of like a laying of hands. So when you go to see a Reiki practitioner, you would lay on a massage table. Definitely keep your clothes on though. If you go for a Reiki session and they tell you to strip, get the hell out of there. Okay.
Right. Good hot tips, people. Good hot tips.
Okay. But yeah, so what you would do is you would lay and relax and simply focus on, the organic flow of your breath, focus on really just connecting to yourself. And the Reiki practitioner does the rest. So you literally just get to lay and relax. So what the practitioner does is we connect to universal life force energy. Okay, I know that's kind of a big one, but essentially, universal life force energy is this energy that is within all of us. This is what allows us to live, breathe, walk around, chat with our friends. That's what allows us to function as humans. Okay. And what happens over time and based on, certain situations we've experienced or how we process certain experiences, sometimes our energy can become a little bit stuck or stagnant. And I specifically work with the 7 main chakras. So Reiki comes and it starts to move the energy around in our body. Okay. It starts to create a little bit more flow. It starts to move or get rid of what is no longer serving us. So the way that I like to explain it is when your phone starts to die and you need to recharge it, you're going to go plug it in, right? That's what we do. So the way I like to explain it is I'm essentially that cord. Okay. So imagine that you are the phone. I am the cord. I am plugging into universal life force energy. And then I am basically channeling that energy to you, and your body is using that energy however it needs to use that energy. Okay. And then you can experience it on many different levels. I mean, some people might feel like they're kind of hovering on the bed. Some people might see colors in their mind's eye. Some people might have memories come forward. Some people might fall asleep, and some people might feel nothing, and that's okay too.
Oh.
Reiki is always flowing, and it's very much intention based too. So the intention is there. I personally, whenever I'm connecting with a client, I always ask for them to set their intention as well, because intention is where the fucking magic happens.
Yeah.
Intention is so extremely powerful, whether it's whether you're applying it to energy work, whether you're working with someone who's assisting you in reframing your beliefs. It doesn't matter in what capacity, but it is your superpower.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And even going into a different part of your day or starting onto a different project, it's so helpful to just take that moment, set the intention. Okay, I'm shifting from here to here. And now what kind of space do I need to be in? How do I need to be showing up? Just taking that moment to be mindful about what you're going to do. I have my online fitness class participants do the same thing at the beginning of the workout. We set an intention, and I don't care what their intention is. Like, it could be like, oh my gosh, please don't die. That could be it. Like, I kind of encourage them to let it be whatever it is. And so long as they are just putting their mind into the right space for, I'm about to do a workout, so I'm going to intentionally engage the muscles that relate to the exercise. Or maybe they have a little mini goal of crushing it, or, higher heart rate, or getting a sweat on, or just surviving, or doing one push up from their toes instead of from their knees. Like, it doesn't matter, but just setting that intention really frames the entire thing to make it more purposeful. And you are much more likely to get the result that you want when you go into it with a plan to make that happen, right?
Oh, absolutely. And I think it's important to note too, it's a beautiful way of funneling our energy and allowing us to focus that energy. And a big question that I get too when it comes to the intentions is, well, what's the difference between goal setting and intentions? And intentions to me is very much the feeling component, right? Whereas goal setting is very much like it's tangible. It's, often it's very specific. We're going to write it down. This is what I'm seeing. And I do believe that their, intentions and goal setting are very much work well together.
Yeah.
But the intentions is like feeling into that accomplishment, feeling into that gratitude, or feeling into how you're going to feel when you do get that push up, right? It's feeling the feeling side of things.
Yeah. And it just is really super helpful to go into pretty much anything that you want to get a specific result with that kind of purpose and mindfulness around it, right?
Absolutely.
So I would love to ask you next. I'm interested if there are any beliefs that you hold that differ from other people in either in your niche or in your industry as a whole, whichever one you feel maybe most led to share on. I'm just curious.
Yeah, and the more that I think about it, it's probably more of a value than an actual belief, we'll say.
Okay.
But for me, I would say my number one value is integrity. And I mean, I'm not saying that that's not in the industry by any means, but I'm saying for me, operating with integrity means that sometimes by honoring yourself, by honoring your soul's mission, that you might ruffle some feathers along the way. You might make a few people uncomfortable. You might not appease to everyone. And that is a really tough pill to swallow, especially in the world of social media, right?
Yeah.
We're always comparing. We're constantly, well, this person's doing that. I need to, or I should be doing that. And for me,
Gotta stop shitting all over ourselves.
exactly, like enough of that, right?
Yeah.
It's a waste of time and energy. And ultimately, what people think of you is none of your business, anyways.
Yeah. And I love that. I say that all the time too, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's actually not generally not even anything to do with you, what other people are thinking or saying. Even if it's about you, it actually is their reflection, right, of their own stuff, their own insecurities or parts of themselves that they're not willing to face that are coming up. And those, I'm totally with you. Like, yeah, I feel like we're going to trigger some people if we're doing things and sharing things fully, authentically, and real. There is gonna be somebody out there who's like, oof, not for me. Like, what is she talking about?
Well, for sure. And that just you connect with, right? It creates more space for those that you're meant to work with or that you're meant to create those relationships with. And I don't know who said the quote, but you could be the juiciest peach in the patch and someone still won't like you. So it doesn't really matter, right? And then I had read something the other day too, and I forget where I saw it, but it's along the lines of, you're going to play many roles in many people's lives. And for some, you might be a villain. For some, you might be a hero. But at the end of the day, none of it has anything to do with you.
Yeah.
Right? Ultimately, all of it has to do with how that person is perceiving you.
Absolutely. And everything that we are experiencing is a direct result of our own thoughts and our own perceptions and the stories that we're attaching, the meaning and the identity that we've built for ourselves, after ever having been told whatever we've been taught since we were little about how to function in society, right? Even at a basic level. So I'm curious as well if you'd like to share, what do you like to do for fun? I'd just like to get to know a little bit about what Alli does outside of coaching and healing and all of these things. What do you love to do for fun?
Of course. So we live on an acreage just outside of Leduc, and our little guy loves to be outside. So for me, connecting with nature, being a Virgo, for me to ground is to like be outside and feel the dirt under my feet. Like even in the winter time, feeling the snow, I'm like, no, I need the dirt. I want the dirt underneath. Give me that stuff. So for me, that's very enjoyable for me. And I mean, my son is like my world. So just seeing him smile, seeing him giggle, seeing him just be childlike, I find is also just inspiring and empowering because it reminds us to come back to that state, right? Again, we get so caught up in the busyness of life, whether we're moms, entrepreneurs, working a 9 to 5, right? We get really caught up in that grind. And I think the playfulness is missing. So for me, it's like being silly. We'll put on costumes. We just kind of do whatever. We talk in silly voices and that's kind of our thing. And then, I mean, more from like an adult perspective, I really love reading. I love reading. That's like just, I go into such a state of flow. I mean, watching series, my sister is all about those. And she's like, hey, did you watch this, watch that? I'm like, you don't really watch a whole lot of TV. Give me the books.
So what kind of books do you like to read? Are you more of a fiction or a nonfiction gal?
You know what? I'm more of like, I'm always reading like spirituality books on chakras. I'm definitely more of like the eager beaver and I love learning. So for me, it's like, I can't get enough of that. But when it comes to like the, what is something that would be like out of that realm, would probably be like, I mean, I do enjoy like a good X-Files episode or some forensic files.
Yeah.
Some sort of like a crime documentary. That would probably be what I would turn on.
Oh, all these moms just be like staying up late at night to watch like true crime docu-series. Like it is obviously like calling a lot of people into that sort of genre to check that out for sure.
Yeah.
Too funny. Is there a top book? I'm curious. Do you have a top book you would recommend? And like, I'm kind of a nerd too, and I love reading. Like, I'll read like anything about like neuroscience or energy or meditation or quantum physics or I don't know, just personal growth and development and building habits. Oh my gosh, I love reading so many different books, and I could probably like list 10 that I've read this year that I loved and would want to tell people about. But do you have one that you love to tell people about?
I have a couple. So Becoming Supernatural by Joe Dispenza is a really good one. Like that one literally shows the power of the mind and conscious thought, which I think is such a beautiful tool for everyone to access. For Reiki, I really love, the exact title is slipping my mind, but it's by Torsten Lang. And it's, I think it's Healing with the Power, or Heal Your Life with Reiki is what it's called. That book I've read, I mean, a handful of times. It's one that I just like to go back to.
Yeah.
And then those are probably like my top two that I tend to go back to. The Power of Now is also really good. I like that one. It's
my favorite.
Yeah, it's a little bit of like, I feel like you can only read 10 or 15 minutes at a time. Like it's very deep, but
it is very deep. And like it's not an easy read by any stretch, but it's amazing. And actually I read it on vacation. And I thought it was really funny because at the start of the book, he basically cautioned to that effect, like, this is kind of deep. You might want to just read it in small chunks and let it integrate, let it digest. And I like blew through that book. I was like, oh my God, this is so good. I love it all. It's like, was so resonant for me. I was just like, oh my gosh, I can't put this down. This is like literally speaking to me on a deep level. And I just was like loving it so much. But
that's awesome. See, and I find for myself too, and maybe you're the same, as when I receive a lot of my intuitive guidance, the messages often come through in the books that I read. It's like exactly what I need to hear that day in that moment. I'm like, oh, this all makes so much sense. And then the goosebumps come and
yeah. Or when like, you're like, I wonder if it's this. And then you keep getting like these messages from all these different places. Like you log on Facebook, you're like, oh, a quote about that. Okay, cool. And then you like open your email. Oh, good. An email about that same thing. And it's just coming from all the directions. Love that, because it's totally a sign that you're on the right path and you're learning the right lessons and all of these good things.
Yeah, absolutely. Alignment.
Yes, totally. So next, I would love for you to share a little bit more about what you have going on right now, what services you're offering, or anything that you've got that's coming up that you want to share with us, share with the audience. Just tell us what you got going on.
Yeah, absolutely. So I work out of Renewed Resilience in Leduc, Alberta, and we are a space here that focuses essentially on meeting people where they're at within their mental wellness journey. So we have, a psychotherapist here. We have a counselor here. I do a little bit of the woo-woo here. We have another lady who works with the betrayal trauma and working through, those types of relationships. So we have a very interesting crew here, and I'm very grateful to be part of the team here. So here I offer, intuitive Reiki therapy. I offer the Intuitive Akasha Records Readings. I also offer oracle card readings, and all of my services are in person and online because energy is everywhere all the time. So time and space really are irrelevant to any energetic practices. I also love teaching. So I am totally just like head over heels about training others to practice Reiki for themselves, because I feel like that is just such an amazing tool. It's totally turned my life around, and I love seeing how it affects other people and just assist them in their whole journey of blossoming into their true selves. So I actually have a level 1 and 2 certification workshop coming up in the middle of May. So May 14th and 15th is the weekend. But I also offer one-on-one training at any time. So whenever someone is looking to experience the certification process and they maybe don't love the group setting, then I absolutely offer it on a one-on-one basis, and in person and online as well. So
fantastic. And for anyone who'd be looking to connect with you online, where can they find you?
Yeah, so they can just go to allimackenzie.ca and you can find all my info there. And then on Instagram, I am _curious_souls_.
We'll put all that in the show notes.
Of course, that's where you can find me.
Yeah, we'll put the links and everything down below so that everybody can find you with ease. All right, I want to wrap up with one last question for you today.
Sure.
And that is, if you could be remembered for one thing, what would that be?
I think in any capacity, that would be how I make others feel. And, you know, my intention and my whole sort of mantra for life is leading with love. And I feel like, you know, as much as we're heart-centered beings, the more that we can connect to that piece of ourselves, the more that we can, you know, graciously give and also willingly receive and really mindfully connect with other beautiful souls, then that would definitely be my focus, is to ensure that, you know, anyone's life that I touch, hopefully it makes their life a little bit brighter.
Yes, I love that message. I feel very much in tune with that. We are all love. At the end of the day, we are all love. And you know, and when we can take care of ourselves in the right way, when we can feel good and experience life with those elevated emotions of love and peace and joy and passion, then we can change the world around us. You know, one person at a time seems like the slow, impossible way, but the ripple effect is colossal when you're impacting people that way. So every little bit of love that you can give yourself is also giving that love to everybody around us. Cannot go wrong when we increase the love in the world that way. So
yeah, I completely agree.
Thank you so much for sharing with us. I have absolutely loved this conversation. Can't wait to see what you've got going on next. And yeah, big fan of Reiki. My massage therapist does Reiki during her massages. And I swear to God, first time I went to her, I'm like, are you a magician? Because like, that was magical. Best fucking massage I've ever had in my entire life, hands down. I asked her after, I'm like, do you do Reiki? And she's like, yes. And I was like, that makes a lot of sense. Cause I was like, you are some kind of magician up in here, like fixed all of my broken stuff. So
love it.
Glad magic. Yes. Love it. Okay. Well, thanks so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate you. This was amazing.
Of course. Thanks for having me, Christy. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to today's show. I trust you were inspired to take back your power and create your happy. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share the show with women in your life who could use a little extra inspiration today. If you'd like to connect with myself and/or today's guest, you can find those details in the show notes. We would love to hear from you. If you've got an inspiring story to share, you can also apply to be a guest on the show at createyourhappy.ca. As always, get out there, have fun, be you, and create your happy.